Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video we are going to be looking at what do the Norns want you to know. Now, this is something that exists in mythology that I was inspired by with the God of War playthrough. But interestingly enough, when I was like, I'm going to do this for a video, my spirit guide chimed in and actually said they're real. They are not actually called the Norns. I can make like a separate video about this on my Patreon if you guys are interested, but essentially they are three individuals and one represents the past, one represents the present, and one represents the future. And they said that they basically foretell the future based on the idea and reality that the future is determined by all three. And how even though one represents the future, one is always being affected, even the future, the one individual being is represented that's representing the future is affected by the others, that it really takes all three of them coming together in order to determine a clear future. Which really interests me because if you're familiar with how I read cards, I find that often pops up, and I often read the cards in a very similar way. But you'll notice in this one, we're going to go more specifically into how the past and the present are all affecting each other in order to either rewrite and change things, or to understand things, whether that be for just like comfort or prevention in the future, whatever pops up essentially. Because remember, we want to see every version, whether it be positive or something you might not want to hear. Because if it's in a direction that's positive, we'd like to see what things we can look out for in order to keep on that path. But if it's not something we want to hear, we want to hear it so we can figure out what it is now in order to change it to be what you want it to be, which is awesome. So I thought that was really fascinating, and essentially that's the goal going on in this reading, is that we are looking into your future, understanding who you are now, understanding your past. It's a bit of kind of everything essentially, and I love that, and you know how much I love that kind of multifaceted reading. In addition to that, I thought you guys would be, if you were interested in supporting this channel, I have a Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content that you can also receive in return. I just posted over there a new Reiki and coding session to improve your relationship with money. That's so important, as I talk about over on that video, because we do all these manifestations for money, but sometimes our relationship with money or anything can be the thing that is sort of slowing down the process or fully blocking it. So that's there to sort of streamline the process and make everything a lot easier. And you can actually pair that Reiki coding session with some of my other Reiki coding sessions in order to get a full receiving stream going your way with money, which is really cool. In addition to that, I also wanted to thank and just say out there, if you guys ever leave me a tip, which is so nice, some of you guys write really nice messages on them, and I don't know how to reply, unfortunately, but I just wanted to comment that they're so nice and sweet, and I love them, and anytime you guys like leave a nice comment or just share something that you've like learned or anything. I just want to say how much it like I read it. It means the world to me. It really makes me personally feel really good and makes me feel very whole, but it also definitely keeps me super motivated. I do tarot because I love doing tarot, but whenever you guys say that, I'm extra motivated. So thank you. I love you guys back. It's returned. It's mutual. um, in addition to that, we have introduced a new segment that you guys seem very, very, very interested in. And I think it's going to stay. I'm enjoying it too. Where basically we all get together for just a few, 1 or 2 minutes, and we're all going to group manifest the same thing. It's a fun way to start the reading. And basically I'm going to say what we're going to manifest. I'm going to have you repeat after me the affirmation. You're going to say it. You're going to sit in silence, just sort of like resonating with it, knowing that many other people watching this video are doing the same thing. So we are all together, like manifesting it together stronger because it's a group. But also, if you give me permission, and you have to say, I give, Supermoon permission, I'm going to send you Reiki to make it even stronger. So we are all going to manifest today. I thought this would be fun. A really magical encounter with an animal. Something special. When I first started to realize my gifts were opening up and connecting to the spirit guides, I would be visited like face to face with squirrels and blue jays and various other creatures like constantly. So that's just sort of like the clue I had of moving. I was moving in that direction, if you will. So I want that for you guys. So let's get together. I want you to repeat after me the affirmation. I am having the most magical encounter with an animal. It feels special, and I was present for every moment of it. Well done. That one was really interesting. It was like a giant blast of stream of light came from my hands, and I thought this was really interesting. You guys sort of like were budding off of it, kind of almost like berries or something. And a lot of you needed extractions, which means that there was something like dark I had to sort of like pull out, and that represents anything from like disbelief or, personal viewpoints of yourself and your interactions with like maybe animals or other things. It could be anything. But I thought that was really interesting that that popped up. But those were removed, and you were blasted with Reiki, so there you go. Back to our reading though, I want you to think of the idea that you're going to be learning about your future and all that good jazz. Hold on to that, resonate with that, or hold on to that before you pick the card group you resonate with. We've got card group 1, 2, 3. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group you resonate with most. Now that you have, we can get started with this reading. I hope you enjoyed all this, by the way. I love doing this. You can go down to the description to enjoy your group and skip ahead to it and skip to your designated group. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. What do the Norns want you to know by looking at the cards? Our first oracle cards are Laughter in Reverse, Excitement in Reverse, our affirmation card. Oh, I have barely gotten into this reading, and this just sort of reads like a book. And our tarot cards are 9 of Wands in reverse, 6 of Wands in reverse, and Ace of Cups upright. Okay, I already know what order this all goes in, but give me just 1 second. I'm looking at some of the details, and I'm going to go consult everybody, and I'll be with you in a moment. Okay, so this is like a perfect example of what we were talking about in the intro about the past, present, and future all affecting each other and it being important to being aware of that and understanding that because then we can both have an understanding of where we got to, but understand where we are at now, especially in this reading, is really pivotal about the future because some of the parts of this future you're going to want to change, which we can, no worries. But it also helps us understand, like, that makes sense of how we got from A to Z. But that doesn't necessarily mean just because we can empathize or understand that we can't take a different stance of saying, like, I see it, but I think I'm going to make a different choice. You know what I mean? So over here is mostly the present with like a touch, a hint of the past. So in the Laughter Oracle card in reverse, it refers to this idea of most likely someone. Let me just check if it's a someone or an event. Someone in particular. Okay, someone in particular uh, just kind of like took away your joy essentially. Keep in mind this card does refer to like a bigger, it could have been an event, it could have been something more like an opportunity or something like that being lost that bother you. But I am being told it's someone. Let me just triple check. My spirit guide's like someone. Okay. But after they had affected you in this way, and pulled at your heartstrings in this kind of way. This is then when we get excitement and a great bit of, guidance going forward with this. The excitement card talks about this almost like rush of like whenever you get the potential of getting excited or the potential of like finding that spark again to get motivated about something, you're almost in fear and you pull back very quickly. It's almost like you're not allowing yourself to feel that way because this card talks about the idea of like maybe you feel you're rushing into it, maybe you don't feel worthy of it or anything like that. And now you can start to see how it's already, before I've even gone into breaking down these cards, how one thing affects each other, like it just spells it out so quickly. So essentially, I can see right now in this present moment, because of this person really pulling at your heartstrings in this kind of way and making it hard for you to tap into that part of yourself that's like, and we're not just talking about joy, we're talking like unbridled joy. Like you cry so hard into, I'm sorry, you laugh so hard until you cry. I mean, you can cry so hard until you laugh. That is also a thing. Please let me know in the comments below if you already have. But uh, when because that happened on some subconscious level, you're like putting up a boundary with yourself. You're cutting yourself off before you can gain any potential momentum because there's like a subconscious part of you policing it, judging it, and holding it back in fear. Probably subconsciously, there's a part of you that's wondering, is it going to happen again? Am I going to let myself be vulnerable, be open, and is somebody going to betray me in such a way where I'm proven right that it's not a good idea to be open in this way, not be vulnerable in this way? Or sometimes people correlate the idea of, whenever I'm happy, this thing happened, this bad thing happened. And so there's a part of you that's like afraid to be happy. Now, the interesting thing is we're going to go into how we're going to change this and everything like this after we go over the potential future because the reason why I say potential is there is still the ability to change it. Remember, we're talking about everything kind of affecting the other one. So no matter the scenario, if you change it or not, we get the Ace of Cups, which is really beautiful and makes complete sense. Which is, I love how my spirit guide was putting this. They said a very, very, very special relationship will enter your life. It will be a new person. And this person will bring, which this is why it makes complete sense when they were talking about this, and I was going into this further. Um, this idea that they will really bring out of you this deep vulnerability, this part of yourself that, like, my spirit guide really heavily talked about you like sharing your secrets with them, or the parts of yourself that you really like keep hidden away, and it being reciprocated with like a lot of love, and you feeling like, oh, I can trust. I can trust this person. I can trust in general. And it feels very deeply healing. And I think it's really interesting that this part of the spread is no matter how you choose, like what you choose, this is going to pop up in either potential future, because we talked about over you here, you being hurt by someone. So that makes complete sense that if it turned out positive, this would be like the universe rewarding you and saying like, see, this is another wonderful person in your life. You've changed your perspective. But if you still need to be healed, the universe has your back, and they're still going to send you someone to help you get back into trusting people again and trusting yourself, and feeling like once you get past that stage to tap more deeply into that just unbridled joy part of yourself. But then we have these scenarios, and you'll see how easily they match up with these ideas, how one thing logically domino affected the other. So in the Six of Wands in reverse, there's just this fear of you like really allowing yourself to be the center of attention. And unfortunately, there are numerous opportunities where you're going to need to kind of posture and step up front and be like, I'm the one that's the best. And have the confidence to do so, have the worthiness to do so, that everyone goes, yeah, you are the best. Now, the interesting thing is, there's not a discussion of that you are or not the best in both scenarios. But you do need to, in those opportunities, say, pick me, choose me, I'm it, I'm the one, and to have them. And in the one scenario, we're talking about the present moment where you're just still in a vulnerable state, still holding back your joy, not feeling comfortable. You hold back, you don't feel like you're worthy enough to, to put yourself in that center of attention, and unfortunately miss out on those opportunities. And we don't want that for you. And then we have the Nine of Wands. And this one, I don't want this to like upset you, but it is very upsetting for me to hear. My spirit guide talked about this idea of you giving up right before you're going to get something. But unfortunately, this starts to become like a habit, like habitually, it just happens over and over again. And it's this intense feeling of exhaustion where, like, right before you're going to get something, you're like, I can't do this anymore. I just don't have it in me. It's easier to give up. Maybe I'll find potentially the energy for something else. I'm moving on. And then you have a small moment of being slightly interested in something. You try again. And before you can ever get even the smallest note from the universe back of like a positive reward, of the universe basically being like, you're doing it, you're in alignment, you're stepping in the right direction, you just kind of let go. And because you keep giving up right before you can receive anything, whether that be the big finale of the promotion, this thing you're working towards or whatever, or even the smallest inclination or synchronicity, just like a hint from the universe that you're moving in the right direction, because you don't allow yourself to have it, because you keep letting go right before, in your head, you just unfortunately think that you are a failure and that you're not good enough. And it's very much like an excuse to say to yourself, like, see, I'm not meant to have this. See, I'm not good enough. See, I'm a failure, which is not true in the least. But we can change all of that, which is really beautiful. So the two things I want to go over the most is, first of all, just point blank, I believe I'm worthy of feeling good. That is a focal point you want to be proactive about now. It's funny, a lot of people talk about when you do anything spiritual or anything where you're trying to like improve yourself. People talk about these ideas, but here's the thing, I'm going to kind of like posture a little bit to you. Do you practice them? Do you look in the mirror? Do you sit down and meditate? Do you actively focus on the idea of feeling worthy, of practicing self-love, things like that? I implore you to 10 times a day for the next week. And you want to be active, like say it out loud, whisper it to yourself if you're in a crowded space if you need to, but just every day, 10 times a day, throughout the day, you're going to just randomly say, I am worthy. I'm good enough just as I am right now. and I don't have to do anything else, and I can get everything I need. I'm good enough to receive it. I'm worthy. I'm good enough right now, just as I am. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of those promotions, of those good opportunities. I'm worthy of friendship, confidence, being trusted, being respected. I'm worthy. I'm good enough. You're just doing that like 10 times a day. And you're just saying it. And you don't have to deeply believe it. You don't have to deeply believe it or anything like that. Or if it feels more comfortable for you, you can say something like, I like the idea of being worthy. I like the idea of being good enough as I am. And you just kind of have a nice little sort of soft, bridge into that idea. But what you're going to do is you're not trying to convince yourself. You're going to say it and you're going to kind of pause and let it just exist in the air for a moment. And, take a moment and feel that feeling. Do you like that idea? Doesn't that sound nice to feel that you're good enough and feel that you're worthy enough and connect to that idea? You can even add that. I connect to this idea. And you're just going to take a moment to say it, feel it, think that feels like a nice idea, that feels like a cool concept. And if it does make you initially want to push it away because of the habit you had previously, you're saying to yourself, well, I can build a new habit. I can start off either pushing it away and then eventually become neutral, and then eventually maybe I even might believe it. But you're going to regularly put it out there. You're kind of like declaring it to the universe. Think of it as comparable to this idea where in the future you're going to need to say like, "Hey, I'm it, pick me. I'm the best one for the opportunity." This is like you saying to the universe like, "I'm it. I'm worthy." Now, keep in mind you already are worthy. You're not trying to convince the universe, but you are just, you know, connecting to that idea that you're stating it and declaring it and letting everyone else know that that's how you want to be treated. You know? Now, in addition to that, this card talks specifically about going to the source of whatever affected your happiness and like getting it back, so to speak. Now, you don't have to go confront that person directly, but it's like understanding that it came from a particular person and healing that. Or you can even just return mentally to the idea of like, when was the last time you laughed so hard you cried? And trying to kind of almost think of it as like a form of emotional time travel. And you're going back and you're rewriting it. You're focusing more on those good, happy times and pulling back that power on that. And then you're going to really make feeling good like a primary activity for yourself right now in the current moment. One, because with the excitement card, you need to desensitize yourself a little bit with the idea of just letting yourself let go. And you might, let's say you're trying to make yourself feel good, and the first 4 or 5 or 10 times you kind of pull back a little bit. You can't help it. But then by the 12th time, it got a little easier. You let yourself really fully laugh. You like let yourself let go. Essentially, what we're talking about here is like a bit of a habit building you're doing. And the more you try to laugh, the more you try to find the goofiness in the moment, find the joke, go watch a funny movie, go watch a funny stand-up special, whatever it is that works for you. Try to get your funniest friends or people you know in your life to, like say like, please, like make me laugh. Let's go find funny things. That's my objective. That's my intention going forward. The more you practice it, it's going to become more normal. It's going to be easier for you to find. But your main goal right now is just to feel good. Not only is feeling good going to pull you into alignment going forward in a lot of positive avenues, but it gives you the confidence to take things not so seriously. So when you need to say, I'm the one, it doesn't feel like this big question of, am I worthy? Am I not worthy? You're just like, yeah, why not? Yeah, I am. Let's do this. That sounds like fun. I'd love to get this promotion. Give that to me. And then when it comes to the part of yourself that isn't sure how to get to the end, instead of feeling consumed by inner thoughts of doubt, you'll be consumed by the fun of the moment where you're more like laughing your way to the end of the race, being like, oh yeah, we were running a race. I was talking the whole time. I wasn't even thinking about it. You're right. I did just run a race too. Woo! You know what I mean? It's sort of that fun energy, like enjoying the moment type of scenario. So anyways, going forward with that, When you practice those things of making fun more important, and that might either be going back to a memory, going back to the source and healing it, or pulling out the happy memories from that time. You can think of it as like emotional time travel, as we just talked about. Really going out of your way to laugh, regularly, actively practicing the idea that you're worthy of feeling good, practicing feeling good, totally rewrites this. It totally rewrites it. You're in a different headspace. These things are only determined by how you approach them, and you'll be in a better position to approach them in the way that is most favorable to you. But also, because we did talk about the future, you're also in a better position to be able to go, oh, there's going to be times I need to step up, and you can step up to the moment. There's going to be times when you're right there at the closing end point, push forward to that last little bit. You won't even have to think about it if you're laughing and having a good time, and then it all works out for you. So I love that for you. We ultimately are changing this for the better, which you know how much I love doing that. And ultimately this reading basically said, go feel good. Go laugh, go find your way into that, go feel good enough, go practice it, and be kind to yourself as you're in the process of getting there. And one last thing I will say that I find personally helpful when you're making your way to, confidence and stuff like that is there's this moment where you want to pull back because it's taking too long. But it could be on the other end of 15 minutes of waiting in that uncomfortability. And what I mean by that is, let's say you say, I believe I'm worthy of feeling good. And that doesn't click initially and you just feel goofy saying it. Well, what if at the end of the 15 minutes, you not only either do feel it or something happens universally that makes you feel good and it's easier for you to connect in that moment. You weren't expecting it. And all you had to do was just sort of wait that last 15 minutes, push through what felt like an uncomfortable 15 minutes to get there. So just consider that if you have that moment in you, just that you just got to wait it out 15 minutes and they'll be on the other end of that 15 minutes. So I hope this made you guys feel really good. I really want to know what you think in the comments below. Also, please leave a like as well. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I love you so much. I will see you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out, what do the Norns want you to know by looking at the cards. First, we've got our oracle cards, abstract upright, the source in reverse. I love this abstract card. It's so cool looking. We have our affirmation card. Then we have our tarot cards, Ace of Pentacles in reverse. We have the Sun card upright. And we have the Star card in reverse. I am pretty excited to get into this. So give me one moment to look at everything, and then I'll be back with you. Oh, interesting. Okay, I love this so much. Okay, this one's gonna be read in a little bit of a non-chronological way, which makes sense, because one thing is sort of affecting the other, if you will. So first we have you here in the present, the Sun card, and you're just thriving. You are, I'm so sorry. You are a lot of like self-love, feeling yourself. Just it's like a very happy card that my spirit guides were talking about how you're just very warm, connecting easily to happy thoughts. You're striving for them, you're looking for them, and it's just a nice place to be, which is great. But what's really interesting is talking about your past, not that it negatively affects your future. This is not really a future you would want to change. This is like a future to get excited about and to understand in order to be a part of the momentum. But your past is really interesting with how it correlates what then affects and becomes of the future. So we have a bit of your past here and a bit of your past here. In the star card in reverse, it talks about this feeling of you making choices that hinder your connection to being in the flow. And I was like, when my spirit guide first said that, I was like, what do you mean? Do you mean like manifestations? Like they were like everything, manifesting, being down the right path, making choices that felt intuitively correct and then benefiting from them. There's just this general feeling of like you know what you're doing and you feel confident in yourself. It's like you kept making choices afterwards that it's not like you could go back and be like, that purely was the wrong choice. You were like, I wasn't able to connect with the part of myself that could foresee what was the right one. So you don't quite fully blame yourself that, you made choices. It wasn't like obvious. It wasn't like you were just up to no good and making decisions that actively hindered you. You were like, I was doing the best I could. This is what I saw. So it's really cool to see where you're at now in the sun card because it's a total 180. We can see this individual holding the sun. They are actively like know what they're doing. They're in the center of it. They are thriving and embodying that they know what they're doing and pumped about it and enjoying the benefits of it. So it's really cool to see where you came from. But that idea of feeling lost and confused is really interesting with where it leads up going on over here. We're going to enter the whole concept of the why you were in this state in the past and what that exactly means going forward later on. It's going to make sense as we're going forward. But when you are in this state, as you are now, what you're first manifesting is in the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. And this is like, these are moments in tarot when you're like, it's not a coincidence. Does that make sense? Like you're like blown away by the similarities and the hands and the meaning of it and everything. So I wasn't even reading the affirmation card yet when my spirit guide was saying that the Ace of Pentacles is representing this physical gift you're going to get. Physical gift. That's really important. And when you get this physical gift, you are going to reject it and you're going to give it to somebody else. And it doesn't feel like you're rejecting it because you don't like it. It feels like, no, you have it. You should have it kind of feeling. And this is where it gets really interesting. So this action of you doing this then creates this. Wanting more for others puts me into an energy of abundance. Now, this is really important. And I find this idea very interesting because if you are familiar with going to the spirit realm and talking to spirit guides and any beings from the spirit realm in general, because there's a vast amount of them, you'll know that they heavily tell people to focus upon themselves. That when you focus on yourselves, there's just a mass amount of benefits that benefit you and sort of like push out from you and benefit others. But that's a conversation for like another time and, in more detail in another way. But the point is, it's really interesting in this that there's the promotion of actively wanting to create this domino effect of you giving this to someone else and being in this headspace. Because when you are saying, hey, when I'm giving to somebody else, you're implying, but of course you have a lot. But of course you are abundant. You have too much. Why wouldn't you actively give that to somebody else? You're not in any fear of having less or being without, or what if that was your one opportunity? Because your thought process is, I'm always in opportunity. There's another one coming out the door. I have too much. What do I do with it? I need it to go somewhere and be benefit to someone, if not for me. And so it's a really interesting perspective on abundance. Not just saying you're abundant, but through the act of generosity, connecting to that idea of abundance, because you're just always having that idea. Now, it's not just simply like the idea of like being grateful and being generous just for the sake of like, because that's a very kind thing, anyone should do type of stuff. But it actually has a more specific reason. We go back to your past. So over here, we talked about how in the past, you were kind of confused, you weren't sure what decisions you were making and how that benefited you, and you saw the results of that confusion, and you also didn't understand how you got there, kind of thing. But there was also the clue we have is the Source Oracle card in reverse. Now, that card specifically talks about the idea of a person being cut off from Source. Now, I want to be clear here. If that idea doesn't resonate with you, or you just that kind of pushes you away or whatever, that's fine. That's not the goal of this card. The main goal is you want to view Source as a collective consciousness, as in when you are connected to the collective consciousness, you are greatly benefiting from everybody's knowledge, everybody's skills. Everybody's loving each other, so everybody feels worthy. Everybody is like a unit, empowering one another and making big moves and all this good stuff. And it's not just this idea of connecting to like the best version of yourself. It's like the best version of yourself times a million and a half or infinity, because you have a bunch of other people wanting to support you there and you supporting them, and it's sort of like a domino effect of everyone being their best selves and then affecting the other one, if you will. You know what I mean? Think of this on like a consciousness level, but I'm also trying to create a metaphor to get you in the like headspace. So because you were kind of cut off from that concept, what ended up happening is you were very, confused and lost, as we talked about. But then this is where it gets really interesting. It's like through this action, you are saying to the universe, I'm back to interacting with you. I'm back to being in the collective consciousness. I'm back to wanting to be in this empowered group of, like-minded, we don't have to think of it literal, like-minded individuals. I mean, you're welcome to manifest that and have that. You're welcome to have that. But just the general spirit of it, if you will. You know what I mean? But this is where it gets even more interesting. It's more than us saying that you're manifesting this mindset of abundance, but this action of you saying, no, I'm not going to keep this physical gift. I'm going to give it to someone else, putting you in this headspace of being like, wow, I'm like really thriving that much. I didn't even have to give it a second thought to do that. Then is the key that gives you then the future, which is this abstract oracle card. Now, this card's really cool. It talks about this idea of there's something in particular that you've been dreaming for. Now, I did ask my spirit guide if this is only conceptual or can it be physical, and they said, "Oh yes, it can be very physical, like a job or something like that." But it feels much more very unique, very specific to yours, kind of like a really specific like art project, or this like once in a lifetime opportunity with all these little specific ends that are and experiences that are tailored just to you type of thing. But whatever it is, the main thing this card talks about this is this idea that you as an individual tend to have this like really big perspective, right? We talked about you connecting to the bigger perspective, and you tend to like observe the world and dream about things in more of a sensory experience, abstract way, very much in accordance to the card. And so, because you are viewing things in a very out of the box manner, which is really cool, this then means that you are creating something more specific and something a little more unique than how do I put this? If we look at society as a system, and people usually are like, I want love, I want a job, and a lot of things around that are tailored to that, it feels easier for people to manifest those things within that system, you were operating outside of that system. So you were taking totally different back roads, asking for things in a totally different way, even if your thing that you manifest still is somewhat within the boundary of that concept of, like, again, we're using an example of a job. You're not getting the job or manifesting the job for the same reason someone else would. And your experience would be totally different and be completely unique, because a good way to view this is somebody else wants the job because it's money. And you want the job, yes, of course, benefit of money, but you want a very specific experience and maybe realization of consciousness. And so this is going to give you that. And because you're manifesting that, it puts you in this very specific, like one of a kind type of thing. So what's so cool about this is while you are cultivating this, this talks about those things sometimes take a while because they are sort of out of the wild. So it's implying that when you were manifesting it, most likely it sounds like this is what it's subtexting saying over here, and you're like, man, it's been taking me forever to manifest this thing that I've kind of like, maybe you haven't even been able to put your finger on it quite yet yourself, but you're familiar enough with the key sort of feelings or ideas or sensations you'd like to experience. Maybe you'd like to feel, independent. You want to be seen for this like really specific ability or talent you've maybe overlooked in the past. It's like enough of those things constantly resonate with you and you enough that you're naturally manifesting it. But you think I've been on some level manifesting it over here. Was it because I wasn't good at manifesting? No, 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 not at all. It was going to take a while anyways. You just needed some time, some in between time anyways. So it's like a win-win. It's like it was going to take a while anyways for the idea to come into existence, for you to define what it is, to be able to see it, to be open to it, to receive it, for the idea itself to cultivate and to come into existence. Yet it didn't even exist when you were wishing for it over here. You were bringing it into existence now. And then the cool thing is that you got all these nice connecting factors that brought you into this. So remember, the main thing is you're feeling good. Don't worry, you were a little lost. Why were you a little lost? You were cut off from the collective consciousness. You're feeling good and manifests this moment, this physical gift that you're going to reject and give to someone else. It puts you in this particular headspace, which is not only an abundant headspace, but the kind of key thing you needed for everything to come together in this epiphany to be like, oh, this is what I want. And then this opportunity to show itself, then you to take it. It's this beautiful everything coming together type of thing. So I love this. Very fascinating read, very fascinating journey of how we got here. And overall, it's a very pleasant thing that, like what the way you perceive the world and go about things, was very abstract in nature itself, which is why it was important to go over all the details so you could foresee those circumstances in order to interact with them better. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I love you guys so much. I look forward to seeing you next one. Please like and subscribe to this video and hit that bell and all the good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out, what do the Norns want you to know by looking at the cards. So your oracle cards are Council upright, Inspiration in reverse. Here's your affirmation card. Your tarot cards are Nine of Swords upright, the High Priestess upright, and the Chariot upright. Interesting. Give me a second to look at all the details of this, and I'll be with you in one moment. Okay, I love this. This does a complete 180 in the most positive, uplifting direction. I am very excited about your future in this one. But first, we're going to start off a little rough. Then it's going to get a little worse. Then it's going to get a whole lot better. So first, we're going to start off with the present moment. We see in the Nine of Swords upright. This is a lot of repetitive, intrusive thoughts. This is definitely anything that involves like, what if? I'm not good enough. Maybe just like a bad memory over and over again. This is definitely a state of mind where if somebody asks, do you think everything's going to be okay or whatever somebody gives them comfort and it's like, no, everything's going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. They need to hear it 50 more times. It just doesn't seem to resonate. They just can't hold on to it. They're already, as soon as they're getting their answer, they're already nervous about the feeling of needing to ask it again. So it can be incredibly overwhelming for the individual who's like suffering from this essentially. Now, with that being said, we can see where it began with the past. So the past talks about in the inspiration in Oracle card in reverse, it talks about somewhere along the line you losing your inspiration for life. Now, my spirit guide said that it was like a chain of events that happened to you, but if you no longer are in this state of mind, we have to think about inspiration itself. It's more than passion. It's sort of like one thing connected by a string, creating another, connected by another string, being guided to another point, and so on and so forth. There's almost like an unspoken thing people are being drawn to day to day. And it can be abstract, kind of like when people are very excited to go down like Wikipedia rabbit holes, so to speak, or like you enjoy looking up actors on IMDb and like what they're going to be in next. And it's not like a particular project you're working towards, but each day you find yourself going back in, enjoying looking up more about it and having a good time. And there's like an unspoken slight inspiration that you enjoy along the day with that type of thing. And if you don't even have that sort of fun little abstract hobby or just excitement and potential in general, well, then you no longer have part of your thoughts or a dominant amount of your thoughts leaning towards more of either a neutral positive route, but you instead only have it consumed by this. Instead of a little more of like a balance where you're trying to like figure out where you are, like emotionally, like day to day kind of thing. And so it makes sense that when you're only left with these thoughts, it just kind of like builds up, so to speak. Now, we understand where this you came from. We're going to go in a bit of a different direction, but I do want to point this out because this oracle card talks about this in case you ever run into this again. This oracle card talks about this idea where when we run out of inspiration, you just basically want to mix it up. Sometimes we just need to, go on a trip, move to a new location, try something out. It's sort of like forcing yourself to be out of your regular routine in order to create inspiration again. Sometimes we need to do that for longer time periods. But the point is, I know it sounds very simple to something more serious, but sometimes the simplest things are the answer. And so I'm not saying that's the direction we're going in for the rest of this reading. I'm just saying if you ever run into that again, where you're running out of inspiration in this particular manner, or just in general, keep in mind that you can easily sort of, until before it gets to this, more intense version of withdrawal, you could say, you can kind of, I don't want to say nip it in the butt, but something along those lines by being like, okay, well, I'm not feeling pumped about anything. I'm not feeling that, lust for life, so to speak. I'm going to go see if I can go on a trip, or I'm going to go have myself walk down a new path, or I'm going to go pretend I'm taking myself on an imaginary field trip, if I will, to a new place. And I'm going to take notes and I'm going to draw and I'm going to do something just totally different than I normally do in order to get that kind of flow and headspace going again. So just putting that out there. But in the present moment still, we're still in the present moment, we have two cards that talk about guidance, which is really interesting, and advice. Now, they're important because they repeat so many times in this reading. 3 times. That's a lot of times, but it's important. So we can see in the High Priestess card upright that there is somebody you have access to. Do they already know them? They already know them. Okay, cool. So let's just ask my spirit guide. And this individual gives great advice. They give advice for a living. So this could be a professional, this could be like a tarot reader, this could be, there's many occupations, I'm so sorry I cannot think of off the top of my head where they have different names for it, but essentially they, for a living, give great advice and guidance. And it's not just great because it feels good to hear. It's like you have seen them either put it into practice or you can put it into practice yourself. You get the gist of what I'm saying. But anyways, this great guidance though, this is really important. This person you have access to. It says, I slow down and listen to the guidance that's available to me. When you are in this state of mind, back to that reference we made when somebody's giving you comfort and you feel like you've got to ask it again and then get comfort again, you might in the moment when talking to this individual be like, oh, that feels like an easy thing for me to handle, or that's great advice, and it kind of gives you temporary comfort. But the problem and what you're basically being asked to put into effect now in the present is that you need to practice it. There's sort of like a temporary, I feel good, I'm going to go for a walk afterwards, get myself a treat. You're not thinking about anything. You're relaxed because you're finally free from that sort of thought pattern after getting this temporary reassurance in a way that's really smart. But the problem is if you don't put into effect as soon as you want to right after that, what they said, or go out of your way to actively practice whatever they've been giving you to do that guidance, it can't take the full effect. And so this is saying, when you feel those thoughts starting to rapidly approach you, you're going to stop, you're going to slow down. This is an individual you already know. You're either seeing them right now or you're regularly went out of your way in the present moment to seek out regular guidance from them, but you're enjoying this guidance, and as you hear it and as you're like, yeah, I can practice that, I can do that little exercise or think of things in this different way or try this little routine or something like that, whatever they offer to you, what you're going to do is you're going to let it be the helpful thing that you need, but you're also then putting into practice the observation of how you change and grow. You're not forcing yourself and rushing yourself to be, to be in a better state of mind, and there's no panic to get there. It's that you're watching yourself transform, and you're able to, through what they give you, see what worked, what didn't work, what were the after effects? When it didn't work, why was that? Was that because of your choices or because it just didn't click with you? When it worked, why did it work? Was it the practice itself, or did it help you get into a different state of mind, which then was more of the beneficial route? Whatever it is, this is important. You're going to naturally do this, but it's important to do it nonetheless, like be observational about this situation going on here, because this then leads us to the future, which is, oh, sorry about that interruption. There was some sirens. So in the future, we've got these two fantastic cards, which is the Council Oracle card upright and the Chariot card upright. Actually, no, I said 3 times. It's 4 times a bit of, well, 3 times we talk about guidance, but the 4th time kind of almost insinuates that, if you will. So in the future, you're actually going to become a prolific advice giver, guidance, guider, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to be somebody who knows what they're doing, is able to give it, but you're able to give really special advice because you've been through it. You have felt yourself disconnect and then go deeper down it. You know what it feels to pull out of it. And so not only can you give great practical advice, but you can give it from the headspace of somebody who understands what it feels like leaving that. So you're able to not only empathize, but it's more than empathizing with someone else, because empathy for somebody only goes so far. don't get me wrong, I'm a very empathetic person myself. I'm not saying don't be empathetic, but I'm saying that in this particular case, you'll do more than that and just give them immediate comfort of being like, I know what you've been through. You'll be like, because I know what you've been through, I know how this can be the most beneficial. It'll feel like this first, and then it will change to this. You know what I'm saying? You're a bit of like a scientist with emotions, if you will. And I love that for you. It's a total 180 empowering move. But not only are you in a totally different role, and it's a bit occupational, to be honest with you. But we have the Chariot card upright. This not only talks about victory, which is really interesting, but it talks about this general idea where you have a lot of victories going forward in your life in any situation. Because what happens is, whatever situation pops up going forward in the future, you kind of view everything as if it was happening to someone else, so to speak. Like, you pretend you're giving that person or the situation advice. And because you're so good at it and have become so good at it, you can kind of take a moment to be like, okay, this situation's happening. What's the advice I would give? And because you've gotten better at being able to practice it and put it into motion, you basically guide yourself through any situation and have victory in everything that you're like trying to like achieve and work through or understand or whatever very easily and regularly. And so this creates this beautiful momentum where you go from somebody who doesn't have a lot of confidence and isn't quite sure like what to do next, to being extremely confident, getting things done, helping other people get things done, feeling really good, very sure of yourself, and this like emotional closure after seeing like a 180 of like where you were at. So, like I said, extremely positive. And I love that so much for you. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I love you so much. I look forward to seeing you next one. Goodbye.